Shadows of her smile. The beginning. Jason Miller had always been a man of principle. Raised in a modest home in the outskirts of Eugene, Oregon, his life followed a pattern of discipline and patience. His parents, both school teachers, instilled in him a deep respect for honesty and effort. He was never the life of the party, never the loudest in the room, but he listened, learned, and loved quietly but fiercely. By the time Jason was 25, he had landed a coveted job at a rising tech firm in Seattle. The move was both exciting and terrifying. Seattle was loud, fast, and constantly in motion, everything Eugene was not. But Jason welcomed the challenge. He found an apartment in Capitol Hill, decorated it with thrifted furniture, and set up a routine that revolved around coding, grocery runs, and online chess. He was content. Not happy, not fulfilled, but content. Until he met Eliza. It was a rainy Saturday in April. Jason's college friend, Mark, had just moved to the city and invited him to a housewarming party. Jason almost didn't go. Social gatherings drained him, especially ones full of strangers. But something nudged him to attend. The party was crowded, music thumping low under the hum of small talk and clinking glasses. Jason hovered near the kitchen, nursing a beer, when he saw her. Eliza Reed walked in like she belonged everywhere. Tall, poised, with eyes that flickered like candlelight and a smile so immediate it disarmed everyone in its path. She laughed easily, touched people when she spoke to them, and moved like she was in her own movie. Jason didn't speak to her at first. He watched her for nearly an hour, convinced someone like her was far out of his league. But then she approached him. "You look like you'd rather be debugging code than standing here," she said, grinning. Jason blinked. "That's frighteningly accurate. Mind if I join you in the antisocial corner?" That was how it began. They talked for 3 hours that night. About nothing and everything, sci-fi movies, favorite sandwiches, worst dates. She told him she had recently moved from LA, needed a change, and worked freelance in marketing. She made him laugh more in one evening than he'd laughed in months. Before she left, she handed him her number. Written on a napkin, no less. "Call me when you want to skip the parties and talk real stuff." Jason didn't sleep that night. Part 2. Falling deeper. Over the next few weeks, Jason and Eliza saw each other almost every day. What started with coffee dates and walks through Pike Place Market quickly grew into long nights talking about life on his tiny apartment balcony, dinners at hole-in-the-wall restaurants, and spontaneous weekend drives with no destination. Eliza had a spontaneity that pulled Jason out of his shell, and for the first time in his adult life, he felt truly seen. Eliza spoke of her past only in snippets, mentions of a toxic job in Los Angeles, friends she had lost touch with, and a childhood that wasn't always easy. Jason didn't push. He respected boundaries, but he noticed things. She never let him take pictures of her. She changed the subject when family came up. And her phone? Always upside down. Always locked. Still, she seemed to adore him. She wrote him notes and left them in his jacket pocket, short, playful lines like, "You smell like comfort," or "Don't forget how brilliant you are." When he got sick, she brought soup and watched old Star Trek reruns with him. When he worked late, she stayed up, texting him encouragement. By the 3-month mark, they were official. By 6 months, Jason gave her a key to his place. His friends were cautiously optimistic. Mark liked Eliza but said she was hard to read. His coworker Maya was more blunt. "She's charming, but I get the sense she's hiding something." Jason dismissed it. Love required trust, right? Then came the money. It started with small things. Eliza's rent was late, and she asked Jason for help. Just a few $100s, she promised to pay him back. Then her car broke down. Then her phone was stolen. Each time, Jason helped. He didn't track the money because he didn't want to be that guy, the suspicious boyfriend keeping a ledger. But his savings slowly shrank, and Eliza never paid him back. "Things have just been hard," she'd say. "But I'm trying, Jason. I swear." He believed her. He had to. She said she loved him. But doubts began to creep in like mold under wallpaper. Jason noticed a man waiting outside her apartment one evening, a man who looked angry and tried to approach the building before being waved off by Eliza. She told Jason it was her ex and that he was crazy and controlling. Jason didn't push further. One night, after she fell asleep, Jason saw a notification flash on her phone. It was a payment alert from an unfamiliar app. He didn't look. He didn't want to betray her. He told himself love was about patience. Part 3. The Breaking Point. It was a quiet Wednesday evening when Jason's world cracked open. He had planned a surprise, He reserved a table at an Italian place Eliza had mentioned wanting to try for weeks, bought her favorite flowers, and left work early. He sent her a text to meet him there at 7 o'clock. She didn't reply. No, on my way. No thumbs up, no read receipt. He tried calling. No answer. Concerned but still hopeful, he took a detour to her apartment, thinking she might be napping or had left her phone on silent. The door was unlocked. He stepped inside and immediately felt off. The lights were low, candles flickered on the table, and music, soft jazz, not the kind they listened to together, played from her Bluetooth speaker. A jacket, definitely not hers, hung on the back of the couch. Then he heard voices. He turned toward the hallway leading to her bedroom. Laughter. A man's voice. Then hers, soft, flirtatious. Jason froze. For a full minute, he couldn't move. His brain refused to accept what his ears were telling him. He took 2 steps back, 1 forward, and then, without thinking, knocked gently on the wall. The voices stopped. A moment later, Eliza stepped out of the bedroom in a silk robe. She wasn't surprised to see him. Not exactly angry either. Just blank. Jason, she said flatly, like his name was a question. A tall man followed behind her, half-dressed. He looked at Jason, then back at Eliza. You said you were single, he said, tone edged with irritation. I need to talk to him, Eliza replied, suddenly frantic, then turned to Jason. This isn't what you think. Jason left. He didn't yell, didn't cry. He just walked, heart numb, mind blank. The bouquet slipped from his hand somewhere between her apartment and the corner of 5th and Pine. He didn't notice. The rain soaked through his coat. He barely felt it. At home, he sat in the dark, phone on the table, unanswered calls from Eliza lighting up the screen. How could someone fake something so real? Part 4. Unraveling the lie. Jason didn't sleep that night. At dawn, he finally blocked Eliza's number. The silence that followed was deafening. He had never felt so hollow, so humiliated, so entirely lost. Everything, the long walks, the inside jokes, the soft kisses in the kitchen at midnight, it had all meant nothing to her. It was a script, and he had been an audience of one. 2 days passed. Then, a new email arrived. Subject, you deserve to know. The sender was anonymous. The message was short. You're not the first, and you won't be the last. She's done this before. If you want to know the truth, read the attached files. Attached were screenshots, dozens of them. Texts between Eliza and other men, some sweet and seductive, others cold and transactional. There were payment confirmations, photos of her in different cities, with different partners, under different names. Eliza Reed, it turned out, didn't exist. Not really. Her real name was Julia Hansen. She had a history of moving from city to city, forming fast, intense relationships with emotionally available men, bleeding them of resources, money, cars, expensive gifts, and disappearing before consequences could catch up. Jason read every line of every chat, every message in which she called someone else babe or my love while still sleeping in his bed. His stomach churned. He wasn't just a man who had been cheated on. He had been a mark and a con. Love, for her, was a tool. He reported everything to the police. They were sympathetic but not hopeful. Unless she's still in the area or someone files criminal charges for fraud, one officer explained, our hands are tied. He reached out to the anonymous email sender. Her name was Teresa, a nurse from Portland who had dated Eliza 6 months before Jason. Teresa had fallen for her too. Same story, same manipulation, same financial bleeding. They began compiling a list of other victims. Slowly, stories came in from Denver, Chicago, and San Diego. Jason learned just how deep the deception went. Every part of Eliza's story, her job, her crazy ex, the childhood trauma, had been recycled. A rotating set of lies used to manipulate sympathy and evade suspicion. He began writing it all down. Every conversation, every moment he overlooked a red flag. He didn't know why at first, maybe to make sense of it, maybe to warn others. But it became a compulsion. His grief needed a container. So he turned it into truth. Part 5. The Depths of the Fall. Jason's days became a haze of routine and regret. He went to work, said little, stayed late. The few people who knew what happened tried to comfort him, but the shame ran too deep. It wasn't just heartbreak, it was betrayal layered in deception. He stopped checking social media. Every notification triggered anxiety. He changed his number. He stopped going to the coffee shop where they had their first date. He sold the couch where they used to curl up and binge-watch crime dramas. But the memories were stubborn. He'd see her smile in the face of a stranger on the street, hear her laugh in someone else's voice. Worse than missing her was questioning himself. How could he, someone so logical, so cautious, have been fooled? Therapy helped. A little. His therapist, a quiet woman named Dana, encouraged him to forgive himself. "You were manipulated," she said. "The shame isn't yours to carry." But shame was a heavy suitcase Jason had packed and couldn't let go of. Then, something strange happened. 6 months after the break, Teresa forwarded Jason an Instagram post. A new account had popped up at lunar.live, featuring a woman who looked just like Eliza, now claiming to be a holistic wellness coach based in Austin. Her bio: empath, survivor, believer in second chances. There she was. Same eyes, same smile, different name. Jason stared at the screen for a long time, heart thumping like he was about to see her walk into the room. He debated what to do. Should he report it? Message her? Out her? But what would it change? He closed the app and threw his phone across the room. He realized then that she might always exist, somewhere, in some new version of herself. She would change her name, change her hair, tell new stories, steal new hearts. And maybe some of those hearts would never know they were stolen. But his healing didn't have to depend on her punishment. It had to come from within. So he started over,